Okay, guys, so it looks like we scared anybody off from joining us. We can talk, we'll record it, and we'll share it with other people. So let's first of all talk about um, FPOS surcharges. So from a business point of view, just more broadly, it's fair to say that surcharges are far more widely used now than they used to be even a year ago. Um, and we've certainly started doing them in our own retail stores. We decided on a 1% surcharge because it's very hard for any customer to complain about that, for them to think that's too much. So we set that up. I think you set it up, didn't you, Michael? No, maybe not. We set it up so that the surcharge is done within retailer,
Hmm. And I think
and
the
it's
manager followed the instructions himself from the knowledge base article, Mark. So,
oh, there you go.
hmm,
So it's automatic. So Michael, why don't you show us if I was going to set up a surcharge in retailer? Why don't you take us through how we would do that?
sure. So there's three different ways to set up surcharging in retailer. I'm just going to share my screen. Screen one, share. Cool. So three different ways to do a surcharge in retailer.
Yep.
Method number one is, well, they're all found in setup general. So if we go into setup general and over to payment types, you then just need to select on the payment type that you want to apply a surcharge to. Now, in this particular data, I've already got a surcharge here. So I'll just start with direct deposit. We'll imagine that this is FPOS and we're applying a surcharge. So if I now click on pay type surcharges,
Yep.
we can see our options up here. So if we want to start using surcharging, we tick this box,
Hmm.
and then we need to specify how we're going to do that
Yep.
surcharging. So it's either a percentage of the sale, which is what you've done. You've just done a flat 1%.
1%.
So
Yep.
you've put in 1.00 and you've said from there up to
Whatever it is.
9,000,
Yep.
9,900, and that's just 1% across the board.
Yep.
Great, easy, no questions asked. The second alternative to the option is using a flat fee, which is
Yep.
where you then specify a certain amount. So I would say probably 30 cents or whatever the fee should be.
Hmm.
Each business should work out what the right fee should be, not doing excessive stuff.
And
Calculate.
they've got, rules they have to follow
Absolutely. There
from
are
the ACCC.
there is very specific rules around what sort of fees you can do.
Yep.
Percentage and flat fee, you've got to find a right number
Yep.
that's even and fair across the board. Um, the third method is by far our favorite because as a person making a purchase, when the FPOS calculated surcharge is used, it applies the correct fee based on the card that I'm presenting.
Hmm.
So if I used my Visa MasterCard, it might be 1.2%, but if I used my AMX, it might be 2.8.
Hmm.
But it means I'm only getting charged exactly what I should be charged, no more, no less.
Hmm.
But it's not set up within retailer. All we do is tick the box and say that. The rest of the information must come from your bank or provider.
Yep.
There are caveats to this. Not all providers do it.
No.
We're double checking that now and seeing if we can update who is doing it. But if we jump onto the Tower Systems website, I've just done a search on FPOS, and you can see here we've got supported retailer FPOS integrations, and
Hmm.
you can see here we've got the different companies,
Hmm.
whether they're on site, whether they do terminal pay surcharging. So if we look at Tyro, they're an absolute yes, doesn't matter who you're with. Tyro going to work. With terminal based surcharging using Linkly, which is on site for our non-cloud customers. Only the ones with asterisks we are confident we know that they do terminal based surcharging. We're looking at updating this now. So if you've got Combank, First, Fiserv, NAB, Suncorp, you can
Hmm.
do terminal based surcharging. Otherwise, you're limited to the percentage or the flat fee option.
Yep.
But nonetheless, you can do surcharging to recoup the cost of acceptance. Um, to stop
Yep.
biting at your bottom line. So we're looking at updating this now. There's a ton of suppliers that do this, so feel free to look through. Um, and
Let's.
we
And
also have,
Michael, with the terminal-based surcharging, you do need to have that enabled by your bank, don't you?
Yep.
it needs to be enabled by the bank because the actual surcharge amount is set either in the FPOS terminal or in your merchant login portal.
Yep.
Which is why I'd go back to what we did, um, and our approach of 1%,
Hmm.
um, only because we made the decision and we were live within a couple of minutes
Yes, you can start
and
doing it immediately.
straight away. And we knew 1% was going to be either equal to what we would get as a charge on our business or lower.
Yep.
It was never going to be higher than we weren't going to be collecting more than what it was costing our business. And I didn't want to wait for a bank to turn something on or whatever. I wanted it up and running so that we could start to get the experience.
Yeah, so it does literally take seconds. Like I'm in
Yeah.
here, if I click save, bang, the moment I start using that payment type, retailer will, and I'm integrated, it'll start sending across that
Yeah.
surcharge amount. If I've done 0.3% on that, so just as an example, if I was in a sales screen, and I'll just put in a random item, we'll go with that item there, subtotal. Where's my subtotal? I'm gonna go F, there we go, that one there. So I use direct deposit. So you can see here now I've got this surcharge field there. So if I click there, you can see that it wants to do an extra 93 cents on top of my purchase. So you could still even do it manually and have retailer calculate the 1%. You now just need to put in 310.93 on your FPOS machine. So
The other
Now,
benefit, Mark, of having the flat rate is that you're actually clear about what your surcharge is. If you do the
Yes.
terminal-based one, the customers are exactly sure what the surcharge will be until they've actually already paid.
Well, I was at a shop in Mordialloc a few weeks ago, and they had a sign at their FPOS machine, and it had 8 different surcharge points because of the different cards.
Yeah.
And it, to be honest, it looked confusing. And to me, 1%, I like it because it's straightforward. It's on everything. And at our busiest shop in Glenferrie Road, Malvern, feedback, we've only had 1 or 2 customers complain. Feedback's been good. Excuse me. And, we're collecting 30, 40, 50, $60 a day. And that's what shocked me, actually, because that really brings home the cost to the business of FPOS. And so, yeah, we are very happy we turned it on.
Yeah, so 1% absolutely easily defendable.
Yep.
Everyone has a personal preference. You like 1%, I like terminal based. It all depends on what you and your customers will like the most.
Yeah.
That sign, whilst confusing, is very good to have because you are meant to at least inform your customers, and
Yep.
that sign is doing that exactly. Despite being a bit confusing, it's true, which is good.
No, that's good. All right, guys, anything else on FPOS surcharges?
The only last thing is if you do decide to do terminal based, if you read the advice sheet on FPOS surcharges, we do speak specifically regarding accounting side of things, especially if you do link the software to your accounting software. It's important that you make sure your provider settles the surcharges with your daily takings. We do know that Tyro by default will settle your surcharges once a month against your merchant fees, which then makes settlement really hard. So read this beautiful orange note, make sure your provider's doing the settlements daily, and it will make your accounting life healthier as well.
Okay, cool.
It's the only last little thing, but it's all in the advice sheet, so please read the advice sheets.
Yep. Okay, let's go and talk about the
Insights dashboard.
Insights dashboard.
Cool.
Now, before we actually go and show it, the business case for this was us considering common questions that we think retailers should be asking about their businesses. And in traditional POS software, retailers have to go and think, oh, I need to go and run a report that will give me that information.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of retailers don't do that. They don't know what they don't know and don't know what they want to know. And so we came up with the Insights dashboard with the view that a retailer could just go into the dashboard and it's going to give them these insights that are actionable insights. So let's go in there, Michael, and see what it looks like.
So it's found under Reports and Insights dashboard.
Yep. And it's got password protection if you want to have password protection.
Yep. It's always good to have.
And I'm right in saying, Gavin, aren't I? This is collating data as you transact.
Correct. Yep.
And by just going in here, you've got access to this information.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
And that's what it's populating now.
Yeah, it does take a moment to gather it because it is gathering a fairly large amount of data.
Yeah.
Actually, no, this one is, I think it's nearly done. Nope, not responding. It's taking its time. It does take about a minute.
Yeah. So look, while it's doing that, if you look across the top of Michael's screen, where are we today? What's not selling? What am I missing out on? What sells with what? Is theft an issue? and when are we busiest and quietest. We thought that these were kind of 6 key things that retailers should want to know about their businesses, things that would be helpful for them to know about their businesses.
That's right. So these figures at the top, today's sales, GP, and average basket is based on your daily sales for today. So a quick snapshot about today, you can see that there. This is clean data from last night. So the backups, the end of shift was done. So there's no data showing today's sales and GP, but it would show, what you are up to today. Down the bottom, it's got web sales since your last end of shift. Your discount.
You can just
vouchers.
do it for yesterday, Michael, just so we can see what it looks like.
Oh, that's right. I can change the date. Look at that.
And
I forget this. So we could change it to yesterday. This store's got multiple locations, so we're just going to do all of them. And I think if I then just click off, it recalculates.
yep,
There we go.
And then we can see
Beautiful.
what yesterday looks like.
Yep.
So it's pretty good. 17 grand. You've got your departments that it's in. If you don't like the view, if you want to see something else, you can click on this and get a little table, and it gives you more in-depth info for everything.
That's pretty straightforward information. What I want to do is look at the next couple of tabs. So what's not selling?
What's not selling?
So based on this, it's looking at this and saying, if something hasn't sold within parameters set by the business, it's considered dead. And this business has $36,724.49 worth of dead stock.
Yep. That's calculated at cost price, of course.
Yep.
And it's based on the last 6 months. So you can change these figures to get a more accurate number or something that's more recent, but 6 months is fairly good when looking at dead stock.
So when you say last 6 months, that means if something hasn't sold in the last 6 months.
Yes, in the last 6 months. Cool. So it won't show anything that's sold since then. So these gloves have been sitting on hand, and the last time they were sold were in 2019. So that's $26 of stock that hasn't moved in 5 years.
Yep.
Now this data is live and legitimate. This business stock takes, and they know that this information exists. This number is actually quite good for them, believe it or not, $36,000, but they are actioning this as they go through stuff, which is really good. Now, if you think this is too big, you can change the number. You can go to 100 and only show 100 items. You can even specify certain suppliers. So if you only want to know about certain suppliers or things, you can do filters, which is my favorite.
Can I sequence it based on quantity on hand or the value?
Absolutely. So if we click on quantity on hand, it is now sorted ascending, descending, and you can see the largest item on hand is that. But what about cost? That's the more accurate one. I'm a total cost person. So we go total cost. The total cost of that line sitting there is a work light. 39 of them on hand is $600 of dead stock.
And sorry, let's look at that though for a second. Last sold in January 2022. Brought the stock into the business in 2019.
That's right. Man,
that is absolutely dead.
Yep. So the shop needs to get that, put it on sale, get it out the door, clear up some money.
That's what this tab's all about. This is about, you've got here on looking at the 100 items, $4,884.23 worth of stock you've probably paid for. So any money you get for this is you're freeing up cash.
That's right. The value there is also based on date last sold. So you might want to change it and go, well, let's rank it on the top 100 where the cost is the most. It's probably more accurate. You'd think. Maybe bump it up a number or two, see what it does. You can play and get the right settings, and work it out. But at the end of the day, this is at 200 items in 6 months. We've got 10 grand, and you can still go get rid of those items, even at cost price to recoup what you've paid, because that stock's sitting there, it's not moving. Get it out the door.
Okay. All right. What am I missing out on?
This one is every store should take this as their own. So what we see here versus what you might see is completely different. But these are items that have previously sold in the last 6 months that you no longer have on hand that you could have sold if you had them. And it's based on sales patterns. So we're seeing on average with this item at least 3 sales. The item that's selected, at least 3 sales in the last 12 months, 24 months. So there's every chance that it could have sold by now. Again, but he hasn't got any on hand, therefore it's a missed sale opportunity.
So the reason we put this tab on the Insights dashboard is we know from other research that's been done, around 85% of stores are out of stock of their top 25% stock items at least 10 to 15% of the time.
Yep.
So we know not having stock is costing the business revenue. And the whole idea of this is to help a business see that. Now, look, if I was running this, I wouldn't do it for 6 months. I'd probably look at 2 months.
Yep. We can go 1 or 3.
Go 3 months. That's fine. Yep. and let's look at 200 items.
That's right. I always like to play with my filters and stuff like that, as
Yeah.
Mark suggests, purely because too much information is too much. Take it in bite size, and any action is good action. So we'll just let it recalculate. And
Are
then
you
we'll drop.
quoting business books now, Michael?
No.
So yeah, look, with those changes there, we get down to something that's a bit more digestible, $187,000. So if we look at that, and so you've got a column here, days without stock.
Mm.
And so there may be valid reasons that you're without stock. There may be a supplier issues, some sort of supply chain challenge, or you may have just missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of looking at that and what is it? So let's look at this second down item. So you've got the Steve's current master. You've been 81 days without
68,
stock.
Michael.
He's looking at that 68. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, you brought it in February. You last sold it in May 2024. And that's an example of what retailer thinks is bankable revenue that you could make if you had this stock item.
Because that item sold very consistently since August last year. And whilst it was last arrived in Feb and we've sold out of that, there's been 2 full months since then where where based on retailer, it says you probably and more definitely could have sold 1 or 2 more bankable revenue that you could have. So the information is very good.
Can you sequence it by the total quantity sold column, please?
Of course I can.
Okay, let's scroll down the bottom. 18.
We
So Energizer Ultimate Lithium AA 10 pack.
They're just standard battery. They're just batteries.
Yeah.
This store's
And
just
you've
out
been
of
without
batteries.
stock for 62 days. Last bought it in June 2024.
Given that they were all sold in June 2024,
Yeah.
it might also suggest that they were all for one customer.
Right. That's a
Potentially,
possibility.
Relevance might not be accurate on that one, but it's worth reading into it and going, no, but maybe because it does sell, might be worth stocking.
So that's what am I missing out on? And that's designed to give you a shopping list of stock items that you may want to take action on in business.
That's right. This is a fishing store, obviously, and there's a hook that's out of stock. Hey, they were selling it literally less than a month ago. Get some stock.
So you're clicking on a
That
stock
one's
item
fascinating.
and it's changing the graph down the bottom.
That's right. The graph is relevant to the item that you have selected.
Nice.
And the screen gets even better. Clicking on these little dots up here, if you want to view only one department or one supplier at any point in time, we can go and do that. And we'll just untick everything, auto parts. And then, hell, there's more down here. I just got exclude items added within. Oh, I won't do that at the moment. So the moment I click off of that, it'll refresh and go and say, right, here's that one department. So you can also focus on it. Now that department's probably empty, to be honest. I haven't checked it, but it's in there. So that's what am I missing out on? Play with the filters, play with your sorting, see what's worth it. And some stock you just can't get anymore because it's out of stock, or there is a supplier issue. But there's other stock.
Or it's seasonal and the models have changed and so forth. But
that's right. So it's data driven. You're out of stock. You've sold it recently.
Let's go to what sells with what.
So this customer does surcharging, which is really cool to come across. So hence the surcharge stock item is in there. And because they're a fishing store, this is the only tab that I didn't think we'd like too much, Mark, because it's a fishing store and he sells a lot of line per meter or braid per meter. So these are actually all the top items. This is line and braid.
Oh, look, it's going to show you what it's going to show you for a business.
That's right.
That business. So
that's right. So this guy sells 80-pound braid, and it's in 2 different sales. And in those sales, he's also sold some sinkers, some ice, some French Viking, and some more sinkers. And as you go through each item, it gives you the information.
And so the idea of this tab is just giving retailers an understanding of what's selling with what. That may change where you place products physically within the store. It also may change how you promote products because you might do some bundling based on what you're seeing within this data.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, as you can see with this one, this dogtooth braid surcharge is sold within six sales with the same item, and then you've got one that's involved with 1 sale, that's involved in 2 sales with this item, 2 sales and 2 sales. So you can see that these tend to get sold more with that particular item.
Let's have a look at whether theft is an issue.
So whether theft is an issue is taken directly from our audit log reporting, which is used for tracking things of security that we deem necessary. Such as when a sale might be cancelled, or a no sale might be done, or a stock adjustment has been done.
And it breaks it down by time of day. So you can
Yeah.
start to hone in on whether there's a pattern on particular times of the day. So perhaps there's a time of the day where the manager is out of the business, and that's when cancel sales really bumps up. So that's, something to look at in the audit log further at that time.
Yep. So we're
And-
looking at 6
And
months
here
here
we're
as well.
not, this tab is not saying, hey, theft is an issue. It's saying these are indicators that require further investigation.
Correct.
So use this as an entry point into that investigation, which we
That's
can
right.
help with.
Yep. That's right. So come and talk to us if you think your numbers are a bit crazy. We can add security and explain how you can change function or process in your business to eliminate cancelled sales.
I wouldn't add security, Michael.
Well, no,
I wouldn't either. You don't want to close the hole, because otherwise they'll find something that's
Exactly.
more harder to track.
Maybe what I meant was more so assess why it's occurring and then see why people are doing it more often. If there's better ways,
turn the video on, get the money shot, call the police.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, if you do find evidence of theft, it does happen.
Absolutely.
Break it down. You can go and look at it for 1 month. You can do it to the hour, 1 hour, 3 hours. So I think 3 hours is a bit open. But you might go, well, hey, maybe we only need 4 hours. And then
it depends on how the business rosters as well. If you're some businesses will roster in 3-hour lots. So it depends on what your roster situation is.
Now you might be wondering, why am I seeing anything in here in the 12 to 4 a.m.? That's because there is just something security happening in that point in time, and it just happens to be that this person's backup runs at 1:47 a.m. So we can ignore that column there. And if we look at cancelled sales, 9 occur between those few hours, then it's really big. So breaking it down then can sort of help you find out what it should be.
Yep.
And now we can't read the times, just move the graph over and you can start to sort of make out what it is.
I love how flexible this reporting is. You're able to adjust columns and things like that. And it's all live, dynamic, really fantastic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, you can really open up. You can go, right, we're not going to care about any of this. Let's just make that really small so all this becomes big. It's fantastic. You've got a beautiful little graph. It's all well and good.
And down the bottom, you've got the actual results. So you can start to look into them a little bit further as well. So they're the actual ones that happened on that day.
Yeah.
And Gavin, it's fair to say that if somebody looks at this and they do think theft is an issue, we say to people, we're happy for them to email you or me, and then we'll get somebody to confidentially look at the data and come back to them.
Correct.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Absolutely. The last one is when are we busiest and quietest. Gives you a view of sales by time or date range. Sorry, so it goes on for a week. So if I choose the 8th, it's going from the 8th back to the 2nd.
Yep. And
we can see the 2nd, and it's just got roughed. This is based on sales value, so you can change it to transaction count. Neither here nor there, and you've got a bit of graph. And the assessment we would use here with it on transaction count is we can see at the end of the days at about 5 to 6 p.m. they're doing on average about, my eyes have to go all the way back over there, about 7 transactions. This sort of assessment, I would then go and do a number of weeks. So I'd probably just pick a day and then work my way backwards and go looking down there, seeing like, do we need to stay open at that point in time? Are we open for too long? Are we opening too early? So it's there for any business that sort of goes, how does business work without opening or closing hours? And it's really that's what this is all about, is just working out what
it's
you
also
want.
for managing your staffing during the day as well. So you've got appropriate coverage during the day that
I think what we can see at this point is this business is really busy at the 10 a.m., 11 a.m. mark, and they need to definitely be staffed at that point in time, which is pretty general. That is probably an outlier. Based on sales value. So if we change this to transaction count, it sort of represents it a little bit differently. So lots of little transactions occurring here, but in terms of dollar value, they had an outlier.
Yeah, well, I think when you're looking at that, I think transaction count's probably the best one to be looking at in terms of that. That's giving you an idea of the start of the flow of the business for the day.
And
absolutely.
Just from a visual point of view, we can change the types of charts we're looking at, can't we?
Yeah, well, you've got 2 charts. You've got sales value. Oh, yes, sorry, you're talking about you can change these, so you can go from area to bar.
Yeah, okay.
No, that's not bad. I like customized chart down here because you might not want to be assessing your weekday. You might want to be assessing your weekend information.
Yeah.
So you can customize the chart and turn off certain days. So let's even drop average and just have the weekends on. And I can already tell you the guy doesn't open, the store does not open on Sundays. And then I click the X to get rid of that. But then we can start assessing, 1 week at a time and going, 2, 3 p.m., 2, 3, it's low values already at the 2 o'clock. So I'd almost say, you definitely shouldn't be open past 1 would be almost my assessment here.
Yeah, and it depends who's staffing that, whether it's paid staff or the owner or who
That's
would be
right.
paid anyway. But
Yeah, every business is going to be different, but check out your charts, work out whether you are staffing correctly.
Okay. All right. If you stop sharing the screen,
Okay.
Gavin, on the Insights dashboard, what's interesting is we have a Canadian company we compete with in this space, and they're kind of making a bit of noise about the fact that they've just innovated and created something like this.
Yeah, they're good at that. They invented FPOS markers, I think,
Yeah,
as well.
they do say that. But yeah, they're talking about the fact that they've just created this Insights dashboard and they're innovating for retailers. Now, when did we launch our Insights dashboard?
I think it's probably 18 months old, maybe 24 months old.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking. 12, 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we gave it free to our customers. It's in the software today. Anybody can use it on any level of the software.
Mhm.
And I would say to retailers, the only report that I use to understand if my business is performing well or not is monthly sales comparison report, and then the Insights dashboard. It really is everything that I need packaged up into those spaces, which makes it just fantastic to use. What else would you guys add about that?
Just the fact that you can get a dead stock value so quickly,
Yeah.
to me, would help me in my own shop when I had it, making that assessment and going, right, I just want to clear that stock because that's money just sitting there. If it's been sitting there for more than 6 months, I'm not using my money effectively. Let's get it out, get something else in.
Yep.
It just needs to be done and would
Yeah, I
save
agree,
it.
Michael. To me,
Make
that's
business
the
so much better.
best chart in the dashboard. Is that one?
It's straight away the most actionable one. Every bit of it is completely relevant.
I think dead stock and what am I missing out on? I think those two actually. What am I missing out on? Primarily, I love that one because it's something retailers typically don't look at.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
And as you say, it's between 15 and 25% correct because some stock you can't get and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but that 25% that you can get, if that said 500,000, I can easily be making another 100,000 if I was on top of my reordering and making sure I wasn't selling out of stuff.
Sometimes retailers as well, just because they don't like a product, they'll tend to go, okay, well, I don't really like that. I'm not going to stock it again. And sometimes when they see the sales history and that, I'm like, oh, maybe I should be restocking that.
That sold out really quickly. That sort of thing. Not everyone, as you said, Mark, you're not your own buyer.
We're not our own customer.
That's right, shop customer.
Yeah.
So what you think you might know about your business might not be right. Data is data. It's proof of what is happening.
Yep. Now, on the Insights dashboard, I should know the answer to this question, but I don't. I'm assuming you've done a training video on it?
Yes.
And
absolutely.
I assume there's a pretty awesome knowledge-based article on it as well.
Absolutely, of course.
Okay. So anybody who wants to start, either watch this video again that we've just done, or go to those two free resources and use those.
Yep. Just go to the knowledge base, type in insights, and you'll find everything.
Excellent. All right. Do you guys want to finish up with anything? Any words of wisdom or insights or information you want to share with people?
Surcharging is widely more accepted today than it ever has been. I'm certainly not surprised anywhere I go. If I get charged a surcharge, I'm fully accepting of it. So don't be afraid to start doing it, to covering the cost of what it is costing you to take payments.
We resisted at our Malvern store for probably the last 2 years because we'd taken over the business, just over 2 years ago. Fairly conservative customer base who love to tell us what we're doing wrong. And we were just nervous. We didn't think they would react well to it. And I think the 1% decision was key. And it's been a dream for us.
There's no doubt hospitality strained everyone for surcharging now. It's almost commonplace. I wouldn't be surprised to see it across the board, even at the likes of Coles and Woolworths shortly. So,
well, Coles and Woolworths,
they've got
effectively do it through their pricing model.
Correct.
It's built into their pricing. So there's no, what we used to call friction in a transaction. Surcharging used to be a friction point.
So do Qantas, and they were one of the first to start doing it. So it's
the other thing that I would say about it is, even for price competitive things, we're not seeing customers complain. Partly because they're in the shop, they've got the product, they're at the counter, and for the sake of 30 cents, 50 cents, $1 or whatever, they just do it. Again, the 1% I think is key.
Particularly in that shop, Mark, where on a a reasonable percentage of the stuff you see don't have price control of.
Yeah.
It makes sense because you can't up the prices of, say, magazines, for instance, to cover for the surcharging. So
yeah. Okay. Anything else at all, guys?
No, that's it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.